Hi there, it's Hal Feldman, Miami Hal, and here's another episode of the Miami Hal Real Estate Show, where typically I have a guest right here in that seat, but today, not so much. And even though there's nobody there, my topic today was going to be about cooperation. And I mean cooperation between agents and also cooperation between the agent and their customers. So let's get started. I wanted to really open up this discussion. And I remind you that you can be part of that discussion. If you're watching live, you've got a social media box in front of you, and I welcome your questions. And the producer will shout and let me know that there's a question coming in. But let's talk about cooperation, because in order for a successful real estate transaction to happen, it's not just one person performing magic, it's multiple people. And for example, for this show, I was going to have Javier Gonzalez, one of the great real estate agents with Remax Advanced Realty, but at the last second, it didn't happen. So there's a lack of cooperation, not that it was intended, and therefore our show is going to be significantly different than it could otherwise have been. But let's get back to the real topic. Cooperation is required for buyers and sellers to work together, for agents representing those two parties to work together, and even third parties that are involved with a transaction. A title company, a lender, an insurance company, all have to be able to cooperate. And a lot of that has to do with communication. So a lot of you will try to get in touch with a real estate agent. And believe me, my phone rings about 60 times a day from people that are looking to do something in real estate, and they believe that their call is going to be a magical call, where all they have to do is say, hey, I want this. And then the agent is just going to bend over backwards and do all kinds of things magically almost to get it done. And the first thing I will tell you as a real estate agent, I don't play that way. I do play in a very persistent manner. I'm professional. But if somebody calls me and says, I need you to find me this, and my name is Joe, I'd start challenging them, because I need to know if I can cooperate with them long term. Hi, Joe, I'm glad you called. However, I'm busy right now, and what I need you to do is when we hang up the phone, I need you to text me the following information. And I usually give them, what their contact information is and what they're looking for. And I'm not only doing that to collect the information that I need to work with them, but I'm also doing it because I want to see if they can follow some basic directions and that we can work together. And out of those 60 calls a day, I might get one person that actually complies and does what they're supposed to do. So with them, I can cooperate. With the rest of them, so sorry, but we're not going to get along. It just cannot be a one-way street. And it's not because I don't want to spend the time and I don't want to spend the effort. I do. But I want to spend time and effort with people that are going to return that favor, and together we will be successful. So I'll give you a quick story. I recently had a listing at a condominium complex that I know very, very well. And the agent on the other side of the transaction is somebody that I also know. Not particularly well, but I know them. And we got into contract with a buyer that wanted to move into the community, and they had a dog. Initially, I let them know that the policy at the complex was that only 25-pound and under dogs were allowed. And the agent on the other end of the transaction said, well, their dog is a couple of pounds over. And I said, do you think they can go on a diet? Because I don't want that to become a problem. But I will also tell you that there have been exceptions made. So, please go do your homework. And I was very careful about what I instructed and how I instructed them to do that. And I would have expected, having known this agent for a while, that we would have cooperated and gotten the job done. Well, the first thing that happened is that it was not a couple of pounds over. And instead of working through me as a listing agent, that other agent went directly to the management company with a veterinarian's letter that stated the dog was almost 32 pounds. You can imagine, after I've already prompted the management company that the dog is a couple of pounds overweight and we're working on a resolution, how the reaction was, not only from the management company, but also from the board. And this turned into a several-week issue that ultimately resulted in a denial of the application. And that buyer, who had spent lots of money on things like an appraisal and an inspection and all kinds of paperwork with their title company, ended up not being able to purchase the property. And of course, I, as listing agent, had to deliver that news to the seller. And it very likely could have been completely avoided and resolved with proper communication and cooperation. So, as we talk about all kinds of topics in real estate, in the back of my head is always, can I get everybody to cooperate? Can we do the smart and straightest path to a conclusion? Um, let's switch gears a little bit. And I, again, invite anybody to ask questions, because right now I'm doing this solo because we didn't have the cooperation, and I'd much rather be talking interactively than just as a monologue. But let's also look at what's going on in the real estate market today. We just had yesterday the Fed increase the interest rate, not of mortgages, but the federal interest rate by 0.75%. And of course, this is belt tightening and scary for a lot of people, because even though it doesn't have to, often mortgages will reflect that type of a mortgage rate increase with increases of their own. Interestingly enough, about 6 hours prior to the Fed making its decision, the interest rates actually went down approximately 0.5%. This is very strange. And I really have to take pause and guess, because nobody knows why this is happening. Another data point that I heard from a lender, and it's just a data point, so it may not be completely accurate, is that over the next year or so, the interest rates are supposed to be, for mortgages, are supposed to be heading to approximately 9%. So we just came from an unprecedented rate of around 3%, some people even dipping into 2% interest a couple of years ago, to maybe a year from now being at 9%. And this is going to create a lot of chaos with the market. What does a buyer who at 3% had pretty good purchasing power and had the ability to get approved do when they still have the same job, they've got higher general expenses, and now the interest rate is 3 times what they could have gotten a little while ago? What's really likely to happen is they are no longer going to qualify, which means there are less buyers that are available in the marketplace, and those that can still buy are going to be paying a much higher rate per month on their mortgage than they could have, and therefore their buying power is lower. If they're still looking for the same size home, which is very typical, the only way for them to achieve a goal is for the prices to come down. And so I have been talking about this for quite a while, and I wish that my predictive skills were not quite as good as they have been, but I still see a path of some pain for all of us to go through, at least if we're looking to be buyers. And so I'll just quickly recap. We had a period of time where I saw that there were a lot of buyers out there. And of course, prices continued to rise at an unprecedented rate. It was so significant that I really called the market insane. And I didn't, mention the word insane casually. I seriously believed that we were in a period of time that was just not sustainable and absolutely insane. And so when you look at numbers last year of a house appreciating in value 27% on average, you know that that is just not real. And we are starting to feel the effects of us returning to some normalcy. First of all, in my latest numbers that I ran a couple of days ago at the end of the month of October, we see that there are more things for sale, slightly more. We see things that are there are far fewer things that are pending, and our closings are also down. This is very indicative of what's going on with the market. Even though there are more things for sale, it's only because we have fewer closings and fewer pendings. And so it's not as if there's a big rush of people that are now putting their homes up onto the market. Now I'm going to take you to the second level. Every year, regardless of what's going on geopolitically, with interest rates, anything, every single year, a week before Thanksgiving, approximately, through a week after New Year's, everybody's basically on vacation. We've got all the holidays. We're trying to figure out if we're going to be throwing the holiday gatherings or if we're going to be going to those gatherings. There's travel involved. In general, the real estate market, is significantly slowed every year regardless. And now we're having exited all kinds of craziness with the market, plus COVID, plus geopolitical, plus gas prices, plus what you're paying at the grocery market. It has a severe psychological effect on everyone. And I believe that if sellers who are already on the market don't get a contract during that long period of time between Thanksgiving and New Year's, and even those that are thinking about putting their house on the market, we get into 2023 early on, and the numbers continue to be what they are, and I think they will continue in the same general trend. The psyche of those sellers and potential sellers are going to change drastically. They're just going to, essentially, they're going to break. And how do they break? They go, wow, nothing's working. I need to sell. I got to put the worst of this behind me. And the way to do that is you lower the price of your home. So that's my prediction. Somewhere starting in the mid to latter part of January and certainly into February, we are going to see a more significant change in the market. Now, mind you, I am not talking about a market crash. There are very few people who are upside down on their homes, unlike 2008. And so therefore, it's going to feel different, but we are going to see lower home prices. That is my prediction. And then you start looking at things from a bank perspective, because a lot of people have mortgages that they felt that they could handle, but it was at a time when there wasn't all this inflation that we're now experiencing at the grocery store, again, at gas stations, et cetera. And so you're certainly going to continue to eat. You're certainly going to continue to travel. And a lot of people are going to think they can outsmart the lenders by not making payments. And since there's relatively recent history of lenders being lenient about that, I think that they think they can get away with it. And I'm just simply going to say, because I don't want to go into too much detail, I think that's a very bad way to play the game. And I think a lot of people are going to lose, because the banks will be far more likely to offer foreclosure in lieu of a short sale. And that's going to change the market again, and not for the better. So that's what's going on. I ask you, if you're interested in the real estate market, think about the word cooperation. Don't just call an agent and ask them to do 99.9% of the work, because if you're calling a good one, they're not going to do it for you. We need to have a partnership. The partnership is going to be successful for you and ultimately for the agent that you choose. And that's what's really going on in real estate today. I'll just quickly look over. Alex, we have any questions that have come in? None at this time. So I thank you so much for tuning in. Next week, I promise you, we will have a guest sitting in that seat right over there. Wide shot, please. That seat, the one that we're supposed to have somebody sitting in every single week when I can. We have a great guest over here. We talk about real estate related things. As you know, in the past, I've had the mayor of the county sitting in that chair. I've had people that are from the appraiser's office in the county. I've talked to insurance people. I've talked to lenders. I've talked to pretty much everybody in the business. And when you want to know about real estate, you tune into this show. And if you want to know personally what's going on, I invite you to get in touch with me, Hal Feldman, Miami Hal, at miamihal.com. Until next week, have a great week in real estate.